Thank you so much to everyone who's joined in. Um, I will do a quick 3-minute presentation before I hand this over to the moderator and rapporteur for today. Thanks to our guests for joining in really, really early. So welcome to the Rivers 2050 Vision platform. Over the past couple of months, actually since February 2025, we've been meeting like this in groups to discuss the future of River States and also pick the brains of experts from various fields to be able to like direct and shape what we think will become the Rivers 2050 vision to be launched next year. We always share this timeline because this is a timeline that projects using data from various sources, speaking about what we think the major threats to the state are and how the state can prepare for the next 25 years. Over the past 9 to 10 months, quite a bit of work has gone into this. We've had over 19 hours of content on YouTube. Over 200 plus citizens have been surveyed, and a lot more will be surveyed. Over 100 young people have made up the task force, and we've covered now 6 out of 15 thematic areas that we plan to cover as part of the Rivers 2050 vision. We're also really grateful to the experts who have given us their time and their passion and their energy and their ideas, most importantly, as to how River State can position itself. Currently, we've spoken to over 33 experts and many more to come, even as we continue to engage across the Rivers 2050 vision projects. The project website and our YouTube has all of the content. So all of the videos, recorded conversations, the meetings that we've been holding since February, you can find them on the website, rivers2050.org and youtube.com/@policyshapers. You'll be able to find all the contents there. Hopefully next year, before the political noise amps up, we hope that we'll be able to launch the Rivers 2050 Vision book. Hopefully before the end of Q2 next year, putting together all of the insights we've gathered so far from all these experts, all of the wishes and dreams as well from the citizens collected through the survey and the engagements happening across the local government areas, and also the policy ideas too, on ways we think River States can. Sorry, I think someone's trying to call me. On ways we feel River State can be positioned for the next decade plus. I mean, if you look at what's the popular narrative of youths, of Rivers youth out there, especially when you look at the internet, it's sad that sadly what people see and what people hear as Rivers youth is that a typical Rivers young person is, you know, politically inclined, is out there to follow any political leader, doesn't have job, doesn't, I mean, we have the third highest unemployment rate in the country, despite how much we're blessed with several natural and human resources across the states. And so, yeah, I mean, I saw this tweet during the week and I couldn't really even engage with the tweet because, it's almost like we're always in a constant fight to sort of like prove ourselves as young people. And the question is, how do we change this narrative? How do we shape this narrative of people thinking that you can find 50,000 idiots in River State and you can find young people who don't have jobs, but who spend their time following, in quotes, political leaders? How can we address this? And that's part of what I hope we can discuss in today's conversation. So we have quite a number of experts who have joined, and we hope that we have a couple more who join us as conversation begins. We're really honored to have Dr. Patrick Uduma join us. Dr. Patrick is a renowned leadership expert with strong presence across Africa. He has shared his leadership principles as a keynote speaker across several countries: Uganda, Kenya, Ghana, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, to mention a few. Since 2017, as founder of the Uduma's Development Initiative, he's spoken out and challenged the status quo, which is what we hope today's conversation also will help us to move forward on. His platform Stand Out with Patrick It's a live class that mentors people on value creation. For those who listen to radio, of course, you must have heard, definitely must have heard Dr. Patrick over the years. He has over 20 years of experience in the oil and gas industry. He's done quite a bit of work in the private sector as well, across several organizations. He served as a financial coach and also currently serving as the MD and CEO of ICREN Services Limited. He's been honored by several organizations. This is a very short summary of them: Guardian's newspaper, 100 Most Innovative CEOs, 2020, the most recent one, the Nigerian Legacy Prize for Business Excellence, to mention a few. So thank you so much, sir. We're really honored to have you join us. We also are really happy to have Dr. Alfred Oladapo join us again, because he was here last week when we had a conversation about the role of the private sector in shaping education. So thank you so much again, sir. We don't take your time for granted. We're so honored. Dr. Oladapo is a leadership expert as well. He is a business consultant. He has gained recognition for his work in leadership development, organizational growth, and coaching and mentoring. He's the EVP for Africa at iLeadAfrica Leadership Academy, a consortium of Harvard-trained experts in human and institutional capacity development, over 25 years of quality experience. Like I said, just like Dr. Uduma, so you definitely must have heard Dr. Oladapo on radio for so many years, for the past few decades now, speaking about value creation and mindset reorientation. He's a doctoral fellow of the Chartered Institute of Human Resources, a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, and the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. We have a pharmacist, Edna Tende, as well in the house. She's a dynamic pharmacist and passionate public health advocate. She's currently serving as the state coordinator of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, the Young Pharmacist Group for Rivers State, and she's a medical representative with the Pharma Symbiosis. She obtained her Bachelor of Pharmacy degree from the University of Port Harcourt. She's a very distinguished leader herself as a student leader, received several awards, and in her professional role, she's actively involved in the brand positioning of pharmaceutical products through the strategic use of scientific information and evidence-based communication. And we are particularly looking forward to hearing her thoughts on how the role young women in River States can play and sort of what they're facing as it relates to leadership roles as well in this conversation. So thank you so much, Pharmacist Edna, for joining us. We have Awajimimam Joshua Egop as well in the house, the convener of YELI. Joshua is also a chair of the launch committee for Rivers 2050 Vision, so he's also someone working with us internally, but he's done amazing work as a journalist as well, and has combined a lot of work with trying to get many young people to embrace education, leadership, and civic responsibility. So it'll be interesting to hear his thoughts and his experiences over the years in doing all of this. He also writes really widely about River State and continues to speak about the need for strong public leadership. So it's really interesting to hear his thoughts. And then we have the national president of the Nigerian Union of River State Students here, who's representing the student body worldwide, Mr. Victory or Comrade Victory Chijoke Amadi. He's a student of the Department of Political Science, Faculty of Social Sciences at Ignatius Ajuru University. He's a national president, just like I said, and he has served in several previous leadership positions, and of course now speaks as the voice of students in the States. He's quite passionate about the students' welfare, and it will be interesting to also hear what's really how we can shape the needs and trajectory of students across tertiary institutions in Rivers State. We'll also be having the president of the National Youth Council, the chairman of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, Rivers State chapter, join us shortly. So we'll be looking forward to that, and we'll quickly introduce him once he does that. So because our time is fast spent, I'll quickly hand this over to Birah, the chair of our focus group committee, and Chiwendum, who's our rapporteur for today, to take the conversation forward. Thank you so much for your time, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Ebenezar. Thank you for the warm welcome. I hope we can all hear it. Just please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, yes, we can hear you. There's some background sound, but we can hear what you're saying.
Thank you. So welcome to every one of our guests. We are so happy to have you. I must commend like a bunch of the guests who got to know since a very short time, and they feel very able to like put you and come to for the development of Liverpool. Thank you so much, and we are happy to have you. I will look forward to hearing your thoughts, guys. All right, so every member of the panel, but I'll start this session with Edna. All right, so for a long time, youth empowerment universities have largely reduced the political patronage, right? It's very sad, but I was first ask the question: how did we get here, and how can we move on from this? How can we change the public perspective and narrative of what it means to be young in the state? Because what we are trying to do is to redefine what the narrative actually is, right? And it's very important to know where we are, and so we can know how to track for the next course of action, right? So for a long time, this narrative has been settled and where and there, right? So how do we move on from this? How can we change what it means to be in? So let's hear from our Edna.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So, political patronage for the young people in Rivers State has largely been as a result of a couple of factors that has lingered over the years. So, I'll start by saying politicization of opportunities. So, we live in a society where for people to get access to certain opportunities, you need to know someone, you need to have some sort of godfather figure, right? So opportunities are being politicized. Access to scholarships, access to certain programs are being politicized. So people now refer to political patronage as the way, to probably make it in whatever sphere that they are in. That's the first. And also, of course, lack of human capital development, no jobs, no sustainable structures to ensure that the young people are being empowered, except what happens probably close to election where some politician comes up with something to just get the attention of the youths, right? But there are no structured programs, there are no structures in place to ensure sustainable youth empowerment. So all of these have contributed over the years to why there seems to be a very high increase when it comes to political patronage amongst young people. Because when the youths are not empowered as they should, when they do not have the skills, and then when they are not properly informed, of course, they tend to go for, the political patronage route. And then also, even for people who are skilled, right? So there has to be something to encourage them. There has to be probably, say, grants, interest-free loans to encourage those in business, a structure for our creatives, for our innovators, to help them showcase what they have, right? So we have to start working on all of these structures. So I think ways that we can improve on this, of course, is to ensure that we create more jobs for young people, and also to redefine what we know as empowerment. So empowerment should go beyond just giving handouts, sharing money close to election and all. So we need to have a shift, from what we know as empowerment, from sharing resources to actually investing in capacity building, for young people in the state. So all of this would gradually change the narratives of what it is for the young ones in Rivers State. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your insight. I think that was spot on. All right, so the same question, let's hear what our Awajimimam has to say. Joshua, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, I was having a bit of network problem, so I joined in pretty late. Well, going from the question that Birah has with us, asking about, I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can. Please go on.
Yes. So yeah, going about the question, how we got here.
Okay, should I?
Yes, I can get the question. Going about how we got here as a state, it has to do with, I agree with what our last speaker said. We have politicized everything, and we have introduced money politics per se, in the sense that our political leaders have made us believe that there has to be a lot of money thrown into the system and thrown into politics. They have made politics seem like the only route, for people to grow in the States. So you get to see that young people who ordinarily have ventured into business and other aspects have found their way back to politics. That if you're not linked with this political group or class, you cannot grow. So you see that at the end of the day, it's a whole cycle of people just trying to get into the system of politics. People would, instead of why not let me have the pond. So people are abandoning their means of livelihood. Young people abandoning their means of livelihood. Things normally, ordinarily that rivers used to venture into and grow. They see that politics as the only way out. If you deny people an avenue for growth, we're going to look for a way out. And in this instance, they have made politics seem like the only way out. So young people are not, there are very few people who have decided to stay focused and pursue their dreams and pursue visions, and decide that they want to not be attracted by the money that's been around in politics, but pursue their vision and their dreams for the state. Very few of them. The majority have decided that, has seen politics as the only way for them to stand, as the only way for them to have any growth. So at the end of the day, you see people keep running around the circle of politics and politicians and the governments trying to see what they can get out of it just as a means of survival. So that is how we have found ourselves here as a state. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Joshua. All right, so let's hear the leader of the students in Rivers State, Victory. So let's hear your thoughts on this. All right, if you would want me to rephrase the question, I can. If you're speaking, you're muted, Victory, please.
Okay, please, just kindly rephrase the question, please. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I said for a long time, youth empowerment in Rivers State, right, has been largely reduced to like political patronage, right? So we want to dive into how we got here and how we can chart our course out of where we are now, in summary.
Okay, in Rivers State, as the upper student leader of the student body in the state, as we have challenges that are also affecting the youth, both the youth body and students, who is the large populace of the youth. Because as students, we are also part of the youth population. And these challenges ranges from unemployment and also the crisis and youth restiveness amongst the youth in the state, focusing on the student angle, because when I talk about the students, when I talk about the youth, you also talk about the student, because students are also part of the big population. And the students have these challenges, within these challenges and the state environment. The state is kind of having an environment whereby youths are finding it difficult to achieve their various goals, because as a youth, normally universities are youth visionaries. Universities are not they are not universities are not into social vices. So as a youth, universities, they are focused visionaries, and the challenges they face both within the state can be a limit to what they can achieve as rivers youth. So these challenges ranges from unemployment, like I said earlier, also ranges from the government not recognizing and not creating an enabling environment for you to progress. Because the government has a role too, because if there's an environment for you to progress by creating all these skill empowerment programs and making the environment peaceful, it's only in a peaceful environment that business can thrive. It's only in a peaceful environment that youth can progress, can achieve their various visions and their objectives. So that's why, as a student leader and the student leader in the state, we are trying our best to ensure that the student community in the state, the welfare of the student community in the state is well taken care of, it's our major priority in everything we are doing. So, I may not have heard your question clearly earlier on. I would still need, maybe if as this thing goes on, I will still need more enlightenment on your question earlier.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Victory. All right, so yeah, so the same question, I'm going to take it to Dr. Patrick. Dr. Patrick has been in the state for quite a while now, and he knows firsthand most of all of this, and I'm sure we have like a very vast understanding of this process. Right, so over to Dr. Patrick. The question remains that for a long time, youth empowerment in the states has been reduced to political patronage. And this is so bad that when you even go out of the states, go to other states, people see you as political. You must be identified politically. The first question everybody wants to ask you is, so which of them are you supporting? Are you supporting Wike or are you supporting Same? And it's very bad, right? So we want to hear what do you think brought us here, and then how can we chat our ways out and have the ideal idea of a young person in River State?
First and foremost, I want to thank everybody, especially the organizers of this Noble Forum. I think I had always aspired where we can have such an organization, at least where we could make input. I've been in River State over 25 years. So I literally have grown in here. And I can tell you one of the things political figures have done is, first of all, give us a distorted identity. So nobody belongs here. They have fragmented us, so we don't have a unified identity. And when you deny people a unified identity, they won't have cohesion. In fact, their perspective about life begin to change. So what it does is that you become a slave and a tool. And that too brings that you become, instead of having a contributing mind, you have a consuming mind. And it's only when you are turned into a consuming machine that they can have access to you, because they have been able to strip you from your inherent value of choice. So if you look, I've been here for 25 years, you will see that what we have here is an entitled youth. So when you talk about empowerment, it's about what to get, and that's slavery. They strip you of your value consciousness. So what that means that we don't have a unified assignment to the state, and it's not sustainable. Because now, if you don't have a unified identity, you don't belong, you're not heard, you're not seen. So you become a tool of what the people are using. Now, what that means that we don't even know our worth, our value. They determine our value. And value has been now changed. We are bigger than our history. We are bigger than cash. We are cash ourselves. So the youths have lost identity, they lost unified assignment, they lost value. And when there's no unified value in a nation, in a family, you can see that manipulation comes in and will become tools. And that's why they can give you handout and you think that you're a big boy. That's a consuming mindset. Of course, what does that is that there's no sustainability. So you see now, in River State, there are no calculated attempts to, I like what the first speaker did not talk about unified structure, where we have an interaction, not even on maybe to cause violence, but like knowledge. So what has happened in River State? They promote pleasure rather than promote pain. Let me explain. If you see here, what they want to show to you is a show up, man up, visible thing, end product, who is big. I've seen it work. Let me give you a bit of when we talk about strategic thinking about empowerment, maybe as time goes on. Have you noticed that it is a more consuming state rather than a more contributing state? Because really, if you have watched out what has happened, if you go into Norway, if you go into Singapore, if you go into cities that have over there, what happened is that they deliberately educate their mind. They don't want to educate our mind. If you bring in music, 95% of the youth will show. If you bring in intellectual mentorship for development, mind development and self-growth, you will not see them. That's why in part of River State, if you organize a very educative program where people can pay in 5,000 naira, they will not pay. But go to Lagos and see that they will pay. So now, once they strip you from education, what we are doing is not education. Because the education of survival and not the education of sustainability. So I think as we broaden this discussion, we'll be able to see what they have succeeded in doing is to rob us, number one, identity, rob us of our assignment the assignment means our choice. They have denied us the power to make a contribution even in that. That's why there's no system that brings about mentorship. There's no mentorship in River State. Let me leave it there until we progress.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Very, very insightful response. We are happy to hear this. Right. Okay. So finally, we'll take this to Dr. Alfred. Dr. Alfred, over to you. Same question, just your perspective, sir.
All right, thank you very much for having me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, please?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
We can hear.
Okay, awesome. Well, I mean, I join my voice to what the great speakers ahead have said, but with a slight deviation from my perspective. I think to a great degree, almost everyone that has made progress in life, it doesn't matter if they are Rivers, Nigeria, or any other place, people decided to take responsibility. I think one of the major we want to be. So it's easy to be manipulated. It's easy, to be twisted, and it's easy to find ourselves, being given handouts, and then we celebrate. But when individuals have an understanding that they are much more, they have a vision for their own life, who they want to be, not what the society wants them to be. A society never grows by cloning people. or producing people in batches. That, okay, batch A, batch B. That's not the way society grows. Society grows, on a platter of the fact that you have diversity, that individuals can take responsibility for their own life. And I'm glad that, one of the things I saw we're going to be talking about, is self-leadership, which is one of the things I've carried, Africa, Canada and the US in the last couple of 5 years. So you see this thing about, people being laid back, people being used, it's not a Rivers thing. It's not a Nigerian thing. Almost every part of this country, people just always feel that, government should do something for us. Our leaders should do something for us. But they haven't sat down to say, who exactly do I want to be? What do I want to become? And for me, what drives it home majorly is that I hear many times say, well, Rivers State is a Christian state. I hear that all the time. I don't know if you've heard that several times. It's a Christian state. But unfortunately, I think we're probably living outside the Bible. Because the lesson that drives this home is the parable of the prodigal son. We have had something in Judson Cornwall in one of his books. He says something about making deadly substitutions. And I think over the years, we have made deadly substitutions in that we transfer responsibility to other people. Yes, our leaders should do this for us. The government should do this for us. The IOC should do this for us. The question is, what are you doing for yourself? Because, the prodigal son was given all the resources he needed. He still went broke. So when there is no mind shift, when there is no mental development, and Dr. Patrick Uduma, he nailed it home. Bring Davido to this town now, and he said, get fees, 50,000 naira. You're going to be surprised the number of youths you're going to find there. It's going to shock you. They will raise that money. But an intellectual development of 5,000 naira, they don't just think about it. Is it government that didn't allow them to go? Is it the leaders that told them not to go? No, we just made our choices. We just made a priority that, look, who we want to be is this, but anything that can take us into the future. And I agree very much with what he said about, pleasure of the moment. If you overemphasize living your life in the pleasure of the moment, then how are you ever going to create a vision that can take you far into the future? So I put the blame, honestly, not really, the leaders have their own share. And truth is that you can't blame them. They don't know better than what they're doing. And it's not a reverse thing. Go around this nation and find governors celebrating 100 days in office. You will not find one human capital development. It's about the houses, the roads, the boreholes, and things like that. Now, you have a nylon finishing roads, okay, which men with empty heads will be going on. No nation has ever been great in life because of the infrastructure. But you see, when brains are developed, the infrastructure, we eventually follow. I think we need to wake up as youths. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. All right. So without wasting much time, we'll take the conversation to the next level. So to Dr. Patrick now, Rivers State is the third highest state with unemployment rates. We are only behind Abuja and Abia states. And this statistics is from the MBS as well, right? So what do you think is the highest barrier, or what are the biggest barriers facing Rivers youths in accessing meaningful jobs, right, or entrepreneurial opportunities, and how can we leverage technology to unlock youth creativity and create new industries?
Thank you so much, and thank you, Doctor, for that awakening speech. First and foremost, there's a lot of illiteracy in Rivers State. And I can tell you very clearly. Number one, we don't travel often here. People don't challenge themselves to move out from here to here, take a vacation. We have a lot of resources that has not been enhanced. But you see, every single, I can tell you, I have I'm not from the core Rivers State proper. But I have my friends who are Rivers State, who have grown up over here, who are also in the political space. You see, some of us came in here empty-handed, completely empty-handed, but we have a vision of where we want to go. First of all, betterment to ourselves and betterment to the state. I give instance, for instance, in my street, I got in there and it was quite dirty. It was so disorganized. And I thought it was a place where enlightened people were. The first thing I did was to create a waste management plan and put in tree planting and all that and put waste collection point. The first thing they did was to pull it out and say, who gave you? Because you see, it wasn't government funded, it was personal funded. The streets on my office as well too, I put a waste management collection system and all that, and they plug it out. So I think this kind of forum should grant us a bit more, maybe small scale, so we can become a watchdog to government and to the youth. I give you instance, okay? I worked in, let me not call name, I worked in one of the remote places because I've gone through almost all the 22, 23 local government working because of my job and all that. So I got into this particular village. They were all down. And this is a hub where one of the IOCs were. So first and foremost, they were always they will give you jobs that are to survive you, not the technical kind of job. And I was telling them over there because they were killing themselves. And one day I met with these youth leaders and I said, okay, can we not stop asking for road and for water? Can we do a very systematic approach to this? Let's ask the IOCs to have a 15-year education plan where they take us to prime universities all over the world. And in that way, we are bringing technology, we're empowering ourselves, and we're taking responsibility, meaning that we're no longer going to take handouts because, oh, they're building one kind of school that does not have any meaning. There's no technical thing, there's no support system, there's no transfer of technology and all that. Meanwhile, it's massive. So you realize that you can't even compete on the international stage because you see, they are giving you money as a local and they're giving you cleaning services and all that. So, and they won't understand because they are looking for immediate gratification until the youth of River State stop looking for gratification, pleasure, then we can set up on our own, start challenging government without fighting. What do we need to do? I recall in my village, we had a consortium of people, men, who comes together and make sure that people go to school. If you don't go to school, they will carry you to go to school. It was almost a force. And when you go back to school, you come back. There were challenges like intellectual challenges that see the best people that they will go to overseas, the best this they can get over here. They're going to China, they're going to over there. So those best brains are harnessed through that forum. And it is only at this moment we start focusing on government and we start building a parallel mental structure that will challenge government because we won't depend on them. But when we have developed ourselves with technology, these people that I'm talking about government, they have no idea about technology. They don't know. They see hire us. We project them. So once we begin to empower ourselves, courage, and it doesn't take too much. All we need to do is to deny ourselves some pleasure and start having community here and there, bringing our best brain, supporting them, and the funding will come, I'll tell you. River State has not even, at this point, I mean, sometimes I have scholarship in my organization. What they want is to be cleaning the streets, doing that. That cannot transform the state. So we need to ask ourselves that we are done with this handout, and what we need is empowerment. Empowerment is no longer about prayer. If it's not targeted to soul development, mind development, brain development, then we'll take it. So I think that's the first thing we are going to do to leverage on technology, and we have phone, and especially what we're doing now. It doesn't have to be a broad sense. So when they say that there are people, and I can tell you, even IOCs will begin to contribute that, because there's a serious gap in employment because people are not technically qualified. So I'm saying that first thing we need to do, let's not take it too broad. Let's begin to identify from among ourselves in this forum, how do we create a structure that will expose the average mind of River State people so that we can acquire the technology and challenge the status quo. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you so much, sir. I think that's a very worthy perspective. Thank you. So, Dr. Alfred, we are going to consolidate on what we started last week. Last week when we spoke about education, right? And I can remember you talking here and there about self-leadership, right? So we are going to consolidate on that now with this question. So self-leadership is an important aspect of personal development that many young people in River State and Nigeria at large, they lack. And this is essentially due to gaps in our education sector, right? So how can we, move on to imbibing this character, the character of self-leadership in young people in the States and Nigeria at large? And then how can we ensure that okay, thank you. So how can we move on to imbibing this character and then ensure that our education system is fit for the next decade?
All right, thank you very much. First of all, self-leadership is the bedrock of anything that is going to be successful and meaningful in life to an individual, to a society, to a community, at whatever level. Inability to lead oneself will always lead to defeat. It doesn't matter how much funds, natural resources that one has. Without an understanding of self-leadership, automatically that person is doomed to fail. And it's not the devil. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have in Africa, where, the devil is responsible for everything, including the fact that, like I couldn't take my bath at 10 o'clock. It must be the devil who didn't allow me, to have my bath at that time. Now that becomes, a major problem for everyone at every level. Now, I did mention a while ago about good. I'm producing a series, we should be ready this year or early next year on self-leadership. Just putting the thoughts I've carried around the world, together. Because somebody challenged me a couple of months ago and said, well, not everybody will meet you in person. So, you need to put these things down. And then those who cannot reach you can always lay their hands on it. And especially, like I said, for those in the Christian community, we talk more about God and so on and so forth. But a good example of a young man that at the end of the day, got his life back. Because one of the things I'm dealing with, take it back, take your life back. Okay, now he got his life back. Well, he had a sense of entitlement, just like many of our youths these days have a sense of entitlement. When he went and told his father, to give him what is due him, even when the father was still alive, he wanted his own inheritance. That is a sense of entitlement. Now, but after he was given, because now there is no mental capacity to manage those resources, he went broke. Now, here is the deal, because what most youths, these days has to be, there's the spiritual dimension of this, because the education begins from home. Now, what kind of domestic orientation do parents give to their children first before they get to school? Because it's a home where money seems to be the most important thing. Common sense is not needed. Just get the money anyhow you can get it. In those days, if I have to drive a car to my village, I have to explain where I got the money to buy that car. I have to explain to the people. I have to explain to my elders. But then we're in a society today whereby people don't care about how you get the money as long as you get it. I think they call it that you have blown or something like that. I don't really know what that. You don't. Now, the real issue is education begins from. So what are the parents, the uncles, the aunties, what message are they passing to the young ones. That's the first thing. The second level of education has to be in the church. And the truth is that, what kind of messages are the churches dishing out? Because the church is an educational platform where people go to have a mindset that can help them function effectively in the society. That's when the church is properly aligned. So now draw that then into the life of the prodigal son. So the first question then is that guy had no pastor to pray for him. There was no church program. There was no open heaven or closed heaven. There was no anointing service. There was no mantle. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not discrediting those things. But I say when we over-focus on those things to try to microwave development, it doesn't happen anywhere in the world. That becomes a major challenge, for us. How did he get his way back? He had to put his brain to work. Now, that goes back to what Pastor Uduma was saying a while ago. How much mental development are we having? So take that then straight then to the educational platform. Because the major thing that is absent in our educational system, either from primary to secondary to university, and I do some work, across this country, with educational institutions, is the absence of thinking. A professor would readily tell you, in university that, see what I'm giving onto you. And I said this last week. So when I ask you in the exam, you know how to give it back to me. So, people get first class, not because they are smart enough or they understood what was being taught in class, but because they can regurgitate whatever, the professor was saying, they give it back to him. So they get an A. So when people leave this country, then, they step out many times, in most of the Ivy League schools, then they have a lot of challenges on how to cope. Now, a person that cannot think, link it then to employment is the same thing, because today's workplace is not looking for certificates. Today's workplace is emphasizing more about competence, about knowledge, about skill, the capacity to transform classroom into the workplace. We don't have much of that, linking up now. Now, about 40 decades ago, I was in school. No matter what you are studying, you used to have something called, is it IT or something like that you got to go. How many schools have that? Can we create a mentoring program, for example, during the holidays for people in the secondary school? And then we get facilitators. And there are people that are willing to invest in the life of these young ones. But truth is that will their parents allow them to come? Number two, are they willing to come? Is the society, going to allow them to function in that kind of place? So it's a multifaceted approach that we have to have, because it's a hydra-headed monster. So you can't just look at the educational sector, that is the formal education. Remember, there is the non-formal education as well. So, and the non-formal education many times has more impact even than the formal education. And I said something, clearly last week. Say, education is a function of relationship. So what kind of relationship do learners have, with their teachers in secondary school? Because teachers, like I said, these days have become facilitators of knowledge. They don't dish out knowledge. In the ancient time, the teacher is the most intelligent person in the class. But you see, these days now, no, the teacher is also a learner. So in educational platform, we always say that students of today, learners of today, they are digital learners. But you see, the teachers are digital migrants. Because, they didn't have a lot of this sophisticated thing when they were going to school. So the teachers themselves need to be able to transform themselves into whatever is required to deliver courses that can, and in a manner whereby it becomes so simplistic. So there's an exchange of knowledge within the educational system. It is not a top-bottom approach. It's not the teacher, telling the students. He will facilitate the environment. But the students must be given opportunity to be able to learn. Well, thank God we have something called self-assessment now. Continuous assessment. The bad thing about it is that the continuous assessment is also running around the road system. So it's not about creativity, it's not about innovation, it's not about applied knowledge. So what are we doing at the end of the day? We're simply modernizing tradition. We're not creating cutting-edge changes. And until we learn to create these cutting-edge changes, where the teachers themselves have a complete reorientation on what education in the 21st century is all about, we might just be dancing around the point. You can't be talking of having great students without having great teachers. You can't be talking of having great students without having great facilities. You can't be talking of having great students without having great environment. Now, go to the learning environment of most of our schools, and it's completely appalling. And you wonder, if students, are really learning here. And now, students that are sitting on the floor in a school where there is no toilet, they have to go to the bush, there is no water. Now, some of those people we imagine to leadership positions tomorrow. What kind of leader do you think they're going to be? Because the society has never invested in them and has never created a better world. And because it's never created it for them, they don't even have that idea if this thing is possible. And then what you don't see, you cannot pursue. And what you don't pursue, you cannot acquire. Thank you very much.
Interesting. Thank you so much. These are powerful words, and I'm so happy to have heard it firsthand. Thank you so much, sir. All right, so we'll take the conversation to pharmacist Edna. Right. I hope you're still on the call.
Hello.
Okay. So I want to believe that the challenges that young women in Rivers State face are unique in their own ways, right? And I think you will agree with me as well. So as a young woman in leadership, and I mean, you've been in leadership right from your student days up till now. And can you speak a bit about some of these challenges and how we can overcome them as a people and as a state, please?
Okay, so speaking to challenges that young women face in leadership. So firstly, I would like to start by saying balancing societal expectations with personal ambition. So generally, women are expected to be modest in their aspirations. They are expected not to have very, very big ambitions. Yeah. So for a lot of us, we had to, it took a lot of resilience. It took strong support system, to guarantee emergence, right? So people feel that the leadership space is a male's domain. So for a woman to be taken seriously, you have a lot to prove. You have to work twice as hard, So these are some of the challenges. So firstly, we have challenges with representation. We don't have a lot of women up there. Yeah, so we are scarcely represented. And also that now means that you have a lot of work to do to actually prove that you deserve a seat at the table. And then also general societal expectations. So they expect you to prioritize your domestic roles over leadership responsibilities. So these are also challenges. And as well, access to mentorship, access to trainings, right? So more women who have gone up the ladder should be able to be an access point to the younger ladies coming up. So these are some of the challenges that we face as young women in leadership. Now, ways we can overcome these challenges. So firstly, I would say by prioritizing credibility and competence. So at this point, I would have to admit that excellence is a language that everybody understands. So once you're delivering the expected results, once you are actually doing very well, no one even remembers that you are a female, right? So prioritizing performance, prioritizing excellence is one thing that can easily set you apart. And then also would be self-belief. So you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you you are more than what the society has tagged you to be. You have something to offer. You deserve a seat at the table. You know, you have a lot that you can offer to the world. So you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in what you represent. You have to believe that you represent possibilities for younger women coming behind you. So I think with self-belief and also mentorship as well. So seeking out mentorships that can help shape your values, you know, that can help you deliver on the expected result is something that could go a very long way. So in a nutshell, prioritizing credibility and competence, believing in oneself, seeking out mentorship, and lastly, being the ladder for younger girls coming behind you. You know, these are ways that we can make it better for young women in leadership. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Pharmacist Edna. I think that was insightful. All right, so for everyone on the call, please, if you have a question, you have comments. All right. Okay, so if you have a question you want to ask, you have comments you want to make, you can just get set. Maybe write them in the group, in the chat, or get set in the next few minutes. I'm going to be taking 1 or 2 questions, right? So this is to everyone on the call. So we'll take this to Awajimimam now. You're a member of the steering committee yourself, and you've been in the works for some time. You recently wrote an opinion published on our website about the future of Rivers State, and why the next generation needs to continue the good works of Rivers heroes and legends like Ken Sariwa, Dr. Obiwali, Elechi Amadi, and the likes, right? How do you think Rivers youths can take their place in today's society as positive role models and social leaders?
When I wrote that piece, thank you very much for the question. When I wrote that piece, I had gotten into a bit of thought about Rivers State and our young people, what we're doing with our lives. Because as a lot of all the speakers have said, there's a lot of illiteracy going on in Rivers State. I agree with the prof who was speaking earlier. Lots of illiteracy going on in Rivers State. And that's largely because people are refusing to develop themselves. And so while I was thinking, I decided that, okay, what are we leaving for the younger generation? I mean, people my age, I'm about in my 30s, and in no distant time, I'll be talking about I'm going 40, 50, 60. What did I say I did in my 30s? So it had me thinking, because I looked at these other people, Ken Sariwa, Obiwali. How old was DSP when he became governor? He was at 30. These are young people, and in their 30s, they're already making impact. So what is my generation doing? And it got me to think, and one thing I can derive from these people, what they did and what everybody had in together, that you could understand that they had the same thing, was vision. Our young people don't have vision. And largely so because our leaders, people who have also led us, do not have a vision. In the last government and this government, I don't know if any of us stumbled upon a manifesto of any of them. There was no manifesto for these people because they didn't have vision. And the young people who are looking up to these people, who see these people as their leaders per se, are following in their trademark. And like I've always postulated, a man or people without vision it's like it's someone driving a Ferrari without headlamps. You are going to kill yourself, and at the same time, you're going to kill people too. And this state, we don't have vision. And this is a call to the young people, the student leaders who are amongst us here. The fact that everybody is doing it doesn't make it right. You have been given a position now as a student leader. It may seem small to you, but trust me, a lot of the leaders you look up to, who you hear their names echoing in this state and country, Chibika Amechi, this guy from Kano State, Kwankwaso, like that. We're all leaders in their time. They were student leaders in their time. And if at their time they were able to start having a vision, a plan of getting into position, seeing their future from the time they were in school, charting a course, you can do the same thing. Moreover, you have to have your vision, what you want as a person. Like I said, everybody is doing it does not make it right. So if there are things that you see that are going wrong in the States and you want to change, please go ahead. Do not see yourself too small. Do not see yourself too insignificant to make a change. Just start. You can never tell how far you can reach if you just start something. The greatest thing we do as young people is that we, first of all, we underestimate ourselves and what we can do. And when you do that, you will see that you will not make any impact. One thing vision will do for you is that vision will not just, you will not just leave a thought, you leave impact. Vision is that thing that makes your work hit like thunder. So as young people, wherever you find yourself, ensure that you have a vision. As a student leader, what's my vision now? As being the student leader, what do I want from this school? What do I want changed? Start the process. You may not finish it, you may have a position, but start. You can never tell the people who are watching, the people who will join you on it. Yeah, so one thing I've come to understand about life is that you do not know the people who share your sentiments and who share your vision with you until you start it. And the minute you start it, you find out that there are people who have that same ideology with you. But they were just looking for somebody who would go and pick up the baton. So be that person that picks up the baton and start running with your vision. And you will be shocked that people who will join you on that vision. One thing I can show you that you will never ever be alone. So my call for the young people in my generation is that we should start pursuing vision. Where do we want the state to be? Yes, the state has retrogressed so much. I come on this our Zoom meetings almost every Saturday, and our numbers are so poor. 20-something people, 25. I think today is the much we have had much. We've got 25 people. Usually 22, 15, 17, 18. And it's the same thing the professor was talking about. When it comes to educational, the same people they don't want to get involved in stuff like this. But if it's entertainment and leisure, pleasure, people are quick to jump to those things. What conversations are we having? Those are the things that would see how people would see us, how people would view us. I was on Twitter the other day and somebody made a comment and it was like, if you're looking for, he quoted a political leader's post on Twitter and he said, if you're looking for 50,000 idiots, Rivers State will give you 1 million. And a lot of people were insulting him. And I said, look, I can't even insult this guy. I can't insult him because true to it, what are the conversations? What are we having on social media or everything? The conversation we're having in public is that people are seeing Rivers people as people who are so focused on politics. The only thing we do, we eat, breathe, sleep, wake up, politics. We are not having conversations that are educational, that are growing our mind, that revamping us, that are making us think, thought leaders. We're not having those conversations. We put up stuff like this every Saturday. The audience is always very few people who turn up. People are not agreeing or respecting or seeing the need for stuff like this. But if it's a party, if it's leisure conversations, if it's talk about quality, if it's a catch cruise, people will turn up for these things. So what conversations are we having? We have to start changing our orientation. We have to think how we think. We have to start talking about visions. One thing Rivers 2050 is doing is that we have seen the need that we need to have a vision. And one thing a vision will do for you is that a vision will keep you on course. That no matter what happens, no matter how far you deviate, if there is a vision and you've been able to raise people who come to agreement and alignment with that vision, you remain on track. Lagos State today is a yardstick of good governance in the country. Why? Vision. So if you do not respect vision, if we do not have vision as young people, we are just going to go in a loop.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep recycling our thoughts and ideas and all of that. So that is my word to everybody, that we have to start understanding the need and the importance of having vision. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joshua. I think that was profound. Vision, very important. And then most importantly, you said something very striking. Every Rivers youth do not play small, right? So now I think Victory is back on the call. So Victory, if you're on the call, can you? Okay, yeah, you're on the call. So Victory, over to you now for your final question. Not your final actually, but please, due to your position, I don't know if Victory can hear me. Hello, Victory. Okay, I think we lost Victory.
Yeah, he's here, but it appears he's muted. Victory,
Okay.
if you're speaking, we can hear you. You have to unmute so we can hear what you're saying.
All right, so we'll just move on. When we are able to confirm that he's back here, then we'll ask the question. But I'll just take a few questions now. Please, if you have a question, just virtually raise your hands or type it in the chat, and then we'll read it from there. I'll just take 2 hands if there are any. All right, so we don't have so much time, so I'll just move forward. All right, to everyone on the, okay, I think we have a question. All right, so I'll read that out. All right, so this is coming from Tobias Goodluck, and he says, good evening, policy shapers. He says, I'd like to know, beyond appointments, what concrete mechanisms can be institutionalized to ensure that the voices, innovative ideas, and policy recommendations of youth organizations and youth professionals are genuinely integrated into the planning, implementation, and evaluation of key state development programs. All right, thank you so much, Tobias. So I'll call on, I'll just call on Awajimimam to just respond to this question in 1 minute.
All right, from Tobias.
Yes.
Yeah, so beyond appointments, the concrete mechanisms. So first of all, as young people, what are we talking about? Like I said, I've made mention of, we having vision, and if what is it we are pushing, what voices as young professionals, what is it we are trying to, what conversations are we having? It's not everything that people will speak about that we get to pick and we want to start amplifying as a state or as a people. So in getting the young people to get access into
Hello, Joshua, you're muted. Can you hear me? Okay, so let's have Iben's response. I think network took Awadi out.
Yeah, I think network took him out. Yeah, I think that's a good question to Bias. And I feel that's a question that many, even international organizations, civil society organizations have been playing around with. And one of the things I've seen them do is that many people are now establishing a youth board. So, for example, the Ministry of Finance can have a youth advisory group or a youth board, who would be made up of young people from, for example, from various local government areas, but also maybe like young accountants as well. Young people who have experience in, can you guys hear me? Everyone looks frozen on my screen.
Yes, we can
Can
hear
hear
you.
you.
You can? Okay, thanks. So yeah, so like young people who would have experience in that area, and then they like advise so that there's more like youth perspective as part of it. A good example is I've served on youth boards for the British Council, currently on the board for the Nigerian Futures Fund. So, and I'd already pitched this as well to the Ministry of Youth Development to say like the Youth Development Ministry should have a youth committee that advises the youth commissioner in the states, right? Because it's not enough to say you're having conversations with young people. There needs to be a structured, we talked about like having a mechanism. So there needs to be a structured way for how youth can have their voices heard. And I think that's one thing that many organizations are playing around with. So yeah, so we can definitely have that. There's also the youth parliaments too, which is quite defunct now because like the process for how the young youth parliament is selected, like people don't just know, you just hear that, oh, we have a youth parliament and there's someone speaking for young people and you're like, who's the person? How did he get selected? How did he get there and stuff like that? So I feel like the youth parliament is another place that states can actually leverage. It also becomes a training ground as well for young people who eventually wants to go into the State House of Assembly and stuff like that. So yeah, but I know that they're usually not funded. There's challenges around funding. Their activities become quite performative. So like if they make recommendations and stuff, does it actually go to the youth ministry and eventually to the state assembly, or is it just like they just meet for just meeting's sake? So I think that boards and parliaments could be sort of like ways for institutional ways for youth ideas to be mainstreamed in policy. Yeah. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Iben. Thank you for that response. Thank you, Tobias, for that question. I think the response from this question will make a very good point for the vision book itself. Right, so to wrap this up, we'll have a final question. And please, I want to apologize. We've stretched the time so much, but we'll be wrapping up very quick, very shortly. So the final question to Dr. Alfred and Dr. Patrick Uduma. What role are you playing as an individual or organization to foster youth development in the States, in your sector and industry? Just tell us a bit about the work that you've done so far. A lot of us on the call already know Dr. Patrick and Dr. Alfred, but we'd just like you to say a bit about them. So to Dr. Patrick first.
Well, thank you again. Like I said, I'm really excited. I didn't even know that this forum exists, and I want to say that please involve me more. Since 8 years ago, I have spent over 800 million mentoring youth, and I can boldly say this. And sometimes I'm wondering, was it a good path? I've been talking about leadership. I talk about leadership. I bring entrepreneurs. I have also stepped up with a bored child because I found out there was already a gap. When you talk about leadership starts from yourself. I have over like about 60 boys that I'm mentoring, reshaping their mental construct. They are completely thinkers differently. Some of them are already in school. We've adopted a lot of some of them who their parents has passed on as well too. And all that there's hardly any week that I don't get into youth forum. So I'm so hard on my mentorship. I mean, one of my mentees is doing so well already now in the international space as well. So a lot of them are doing so well. So Stand Up has been such a powerful movement to redefining standard, challenging status quo, and inviting people to a higher thought of learning where we lead from in, out, not out. I mean, for me, like I said, I have benefited so much from River State, and I grew here. I become an African figure in John Maxwell, EVP Africa. I'm on Hype Africa. I mean, I'm the vice president. All that came because I was in River State. And there's a whole lot that River State can offer. So that's why we are creating this mentorship forum where people of brilliant mind should be able to come and reshape their thinking and take a different thinking pattern so that we can create a different model of leadership. I believe in River State because everything that I have ever owned came from this place as well too. So I always say duty to continue to push the boundaries. And I think I won't say I'm boasting. I can't say these are any other person has spent up to $1 billion personal money developing people without submission. Now I'm crying. I'm praying that people should come and help me on the board child, so that because it's massive, no matter how much I have, I won't be able to contain it as well too. We run board child for about 3 years right now. And if you have contact with them, we expose them to radio, they have a different mindset as well too. Because now what we intend to do is to establish an venture where they are all part shareholders. As shareholders, so they already have their own company, and so they can find their experimentation within that organization and all that. So that's what we're doing in our course. Thank you very much. I'd like to be part and parcel of this 2050 vision as well too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We're grateful. We'll be having you more. All right. Okay, so Dr. Alfred, before you respond, let me just get to Victory. Victory, welcome back. So want you to just talk on, all right, so I want you to just talk on this point. What role are you playing as an individual? I know you're the leader of the students in the state. So what role is your organization playing in youth development in the States? Just talk a bit about what you've done and what you're going to be doing in the next couple of months. I don't know how long you still have in your tenure.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. I want to start by appreciating you all being the organizers of this very program and this meeting for being able to involve the student community and the student leadership led by my humble self, and also for involving speakers who have spoken writing and also intelligently. I also want to start by saying that my union, being North National, being the president body in River State, we have been trying our best by organizing skill acquisition programs. We have organizing activities to engage the student community, both by hosting seminars, and also we have an upcoming leadership seminar coming up in December, 1st of December, which is our North National Week Convention, whereby we engage stakeholders of the student community on several leadership qualities and leadership trainings. It will run down from the culture of River State and also training River youths on how to gain valuable skills that can help them. Because as a River youth and being a student, you need to also have skills that can also aid you while being in school to be able to sustain yourself as a student. You don't just have to depend on your parents or your sponsors as a student. You can also help yourself in school with some little payment. So this skill acquisition program that we have been organizing so far, we've organized with Ms. Ankyo Briggs, we've organized tech training for students in our RSU. We've also organized a leadership summit earlier this year for student community. And we have upcoming programs, the driving school training that's coming up very soon in commemoration of the month of November. And also we have in the month of this October, we have an upcoming tech training for student community. So we have a lot of programs that we have been listening for the student community, of which we believe that by the end of the day, the students will be empowered with valuable skills that can help them become useful to the society. not just but even to their own immediate family. They will be useful to the immediate family they come from, to be for to the student community and also to the world at large. So the Affairs Student Body in Rivers State under my leadership, we have been trying our best and we will keep doing more. We have more to deliver to the student community within the short time as possible before we our tenure elapses, and we would ensure that we try our best to bring up these programs and ensure that it gets to the student community. I once again want to appreciate you all for deeming necessary to invite my humble self to part of this meeting, and also every speaker who has spoken wisely right from the very first to the last speaker. I know that where I am may be a bit noisy because of I'm kind of at an open place, but I believe that I'm always available for anything that would develop River State, anything that will lead to the progress of River State, anything that will lead to the youth improving both financially, materially, intelligently, both physically and otherwise. So anything that will lead to the youth of River State, development of River State, I'm always willing to get myself involved. And I will always be available to get myself involved in any meeting. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you all.
Thank you so much, Comr Victory. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining. We appreciate you and would love to have you again some other time coming. All right, so finally to Dr. Alfred.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you. All right, so Dr. Alfred, finally, please, sir, just the same question.
Well, one of the biggest commitment I have in life is to see that we have youths that understand what leadership is. Because technically, around Africa, and especially in this part of the world, leadership is simply tied to position, to titles, to certificates, and all kinds of things that are completely anti-leadership. And you find a lot of people that are growing up today, they are either chasing to be in certain positions because they believe that's what leadership is all about. Well, it's far, far, far beyond that. Some of the things I have done, especially back here, I think a lot of people probably got to know me with the iLead program that I was running on Nigeria Info. That program went for about, I think, maybe 7 years or so. And I can tell it was a partnership with Nigeria Info, and I never collected, any money for all the sessions. I was running about 5 hours in a week. At that time it was intensive leadership development, and that's because we just saw that need, that gap in terms of raising leaders, for tomorrow. The mentality has always been that, leaders and followers. But the core call of any leader is not just to make more followers, it's to make sure that followers become leaders and responsible citizens that can take their place in the society. I only opted out of that because of a lot of international commitments, and I didn't want to be missing. But another thing that I have done so far with my team on Salvation TV, for about 3 years, we're running a leadership program. And of course, again, at no cost, to that TV station, at no cost to the TV station, recorded, versions, live versions, going on. Other things from time to time will pay for hold conferences where, youth can come, and of course, entrepreneurs. And what were we doing in some of those fora is not essentially, to teach or train leaders, but to answer questions, provide pragmatic solutions. People struggle in their business, people struggle, in their workplace, how to build excellent careers and all those kind of things. Much more than that, we've invested a lot, especially with churches, because you go to churches generally in this country, almost 80% of the people are young people. And sometimes, some of the things that come from some of the churches are not what is going to help us to build a good society. And I'm not saying that to run down, men of God. No, I'm not. But like I said, when you look at the prototype, there are principles by which people can grow, by which people can be rich, by which people can have wonderful families. There are principles, and you don't have to be a Christian, for some of those. There are things that make all of us human. But they say when, there's this jaundice understanding that, all you need to do is give God money, and then you're going to be successful. then, what you're creating is that, people have to go and look for the money, in whatever crooked means, and then they can bring it so that then, they can become more successful. And we've seen that doesn't really work. One of the things we've done again is to ensure that how do people create excellent career? So with several churches, we've tried to ensure that how do we teach people how to write, what do you call it, 21st century, CV, which is more of what we call an achiever CV. Most of what people know is doer CV. We want an achiever CV. And for most people applying for jobs these days, they don't get the jobs, not because they don't know that they're probably not smart, but because they're not putting themselves up properly, how to package themselves, essentially. And this has nothing to do with lies or what they call it, fabrications. But how do you put the information about yourself properly together? Because most applications today and the CVs for most organizations around the world, human beings don't read your CV. You just go straight to the applicant tracking system. And those things are programmed in such a way that just say, I advertise for this job, get me the 10 best candidates from any part of the world. It will select the best 10. It doesn't matter, if they're, black, white, brown, yellow, green, blue. It will just select them. So that's part of the thing we've done in the Niger Delta here to see that how do we upgrade the mental development of the people in such a way that they can get jobs in some of the big corporations, not just like in the Niger Delta, but globally. Because agitating that like you must employ our people, all companies have their own standards, for different positions. That's the truth. Yeah, I believe like a company should be fair to communities, and I'm an advocate of that very strongly. But understand too that companies are there to make profit. And there are certain competencies and knowledge and experiences and exposure that are required to occupy certain positions. So you can't take an illiterate, that probably has not gone to school, but because he's a youth leader, then you make him a manager, in one company where he doesn't even know what to do. You're going to kill that company at the end of the day. And so what happens to the shareholders? So the board will go to jail. That's some of the things that people don't understand. So how do we then upgrade the mental development of our people? Hopefully in the next year or two, like I said, we're working seriously with my team, outside the country on a particular project, Take Back Your Life. It's basically, a youth development program, Take Back Your Life. And it's centered majorly on self-leadership because most of what we experience are self-defeat, self-disqualification, self-discounting, self-discouragement. Those are the things we do to ourselves. It's not the devil. And until people have a mental shift to get away from that, then we're going to be rigmaroling. A lot of funds, have gone into some of the things that we've done. We have never, come out to ask people for funds. A lot of my personal funds, and I'm not really bragging about that. I've gone into that. A lot of my, my time, my resources. I've had to pull up a lot of my friends all over the world, to be part of this. And they do a lot. Many of them join in the facilitation. Many of them supply the materials that we use and so on and so forth. We've never received anything from government, and we've never asked from government, because the truth is that once you begin to ask for government, then they begin to give you certain conditions. And then, before politicians want to come there and come and be speaking, because they gave you maybe like a few miserable, millions, and they think, that entitled them then to come and, they don't understand how many millions, and how much, many of us are spending, on this. So, there is no government funds. It's all personal funds, that are going to it, because that's what I want to be known for. And let me say this in closing. I've said this, over 40 years ago, and I've stood by it. I don't ever want to be rich by, how much is my bank account. I want my riches to be measured by how many people I invested in before I die. That's all I want. That's all I want, my wealth, to reflect. That somebody will probably, like I hear Alfred Oladapo in 10 years says, yeah, I know that guy. Yes, I heard him this time. I did this. And those are things that, I have occupied, my own time. I will continue to occupy it. And I'm glad to be part of this thing you're doing. When a senator, got across and say, hey, I'm on board. Anything that has to do with youth development, count me in. So thank you very much, Eben, and the rest of you. I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. All right, so the very final question that we ask everyone who comes on our panel discussion: what is the River State of your dream? Where do you want to see River State in the next 25 years? And I want to start with pharmacist Edna. Yeah, so briefly, what is the River State of your dream?
Okay. Yeah, so the River State of my dream would be one where everybody has equal access to opportunities, and also the youths are empowered. Like we've actually attained that level where people have built capacity, so they are no longer deferring to political patronage for the next bread on their table, right? So I mean, it should be one of empowerment, it should be one of equal access to opportunity, it should be one of true democracy, you know. So I mean, I'm of the opinion that power transition doesn't always have to be a hassle. It doesn't always have to involve shedding of blood and people losing their lives in the process. So if we can change that narrative and then truly practice the democracy that we preach, I think that would be a huge milestone for us as a state.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That was insightful. And it sounded so passionate. Thank you so much, Edna. Over to Awajimimam.
Yes, sorry, I tripped off the last time, but got some, so I apologize, please. I'll just go straight to it. I'll just try to speak on what last person asked. I was answering. It was a very intelligent question, and so the rivers of my dreams I want to say is that we young people are able to come and without waiting for the government, we're able to come together, get a platform, and showcase these innovative ideas that we have. Our problem is that we keep waiting for the government. If we do not come together, group ourselves, and create concrete platforms that showcases our ideas and innovations, when we are now being governed by people who do not have vision, we are bound to fizzle out because we are waiting for the government. So we can have something that is not relying on the government per se. We on our own as young people are able to come together and have a platform that is showing our voices without government patronage. We'll see that the government will not be able to dictate how the measure of our vision and our drive and our goal. That is the river state I want to see. Young people need to come and start having ideas and discussions on what we want about our future as a state and as young people. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is Victory still on the call? Victory, are you still there? Okay, so I think Victory is no more with us. So
he's here.
Please talk, Victory.
Yeah, go on.
Hello, Victory. If you're talking, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Maybe ask the question again. Maybe Victory didn't catch the question. Perhaps ask the question.
Oh, okay. Victory, if you can hear me, we just want to know what is the river state of your dream, where you want to see River State in the next 25 years, in a short sentence.
Okay. I want to actually see a river state whereby the youths are employed and are also reasonably engaged. Because when river states are reasonably engaged, they won't have time for all these social vices like cultism and maybe involving in crimes and all the rest. I also want to say river state whereby that is peaceful, a river state that is progressive, whereby investors come into the states and invest. Not just invest, they also base their companies, their headquarters in River State here. A River State that has that hosts the top companies, both oil companies and industries, will be headquartered in River State here. I want to say River State that whereby the youth at large are engaged in their various activities, both not just politically, not every youth must be politically inclined. You know, because university here, we believe that everyone is in politics, but no, that it shouldn't be that way. You should be engaged in other activities outside politics. They should be engaged in trade, in business, in social entertainment. There are various areas where you can thrive and survive and succeed outside being in politics. So that's kind of what I want to see in the next few years, in the next few years to come. And I believe it will happen so by the grace of God. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Dr. Alfred, please. I know you said this last week, but we want to hear from your from this perspective now.
Well, I just want to see a Rivers State where youths are able to rise and take up their place, take back their states, take their future. Because I want to see a Rivers State that is not looking up to Lagos. I want to see a Rivers State that the world can look up to. See, what we got in this state, Lagos doesn't have it. This is the truth. The body of water, the forest that we have, the green vegetation, the beautiful things that we have that can, create a lot of jobs here. The unfortunate thing is that even those who are, having the money in Rivers State, they're not investing in Rivers State. They're taking their money to go and invest in Lagos. They buy a lot of properties in Lekki, in Banana Island. They go establish schools, in the Benin Republic and the rest of that's never going to develop the kind of River State that we want. I want to see a River State that the world we keep looking back to. And when I was doing part of my studies in some of my classes at Harvard University, truth is that most times, see, the world looks up to rivers, especially in terms of all the uprising that were on that time, 2008, 2009, all the uprising and all this. They were always asking me a question almost every class. Okay, I mean, you come from what do you call it, the Niger Delta. So what's really happening? And many times I'm speaking, what I know, but what the world is seeing outside there, is far different from what is happening on ground. Therefore, we need to be able to tell our own story. And the people that will tell our own story are the people that are here today, and millions that will come and join this vision. I hope we'll get there someday. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Finally, Dr. Patrick.
Thank you again. One of my desire for Rivers State, we have a lot of potential from Bonny to Pobo to all the local governments. I'm just praying that we have a leader who understands, not from a place of mediocrity or a place of acquisition of wealth, but an intelligent leader who will create a roadmap, maybe like about 50 years roadmap, that will see that no matter who comes in, no matter who comes into the government, does not have any agenda, will have Rivers State agenda. In that way, we're going to harness, come on, when I look at our people and find out that we could bring in, like when you go to the UK, from Island of Wight, when you're going to Southampton to Island of Wight, you see people are moving to that place. I mean, how many white people have you come to see here? There's no development here. If you come into GROA, you find out that all the houses are empty. Why? Because the high people who are supposed to hire it, they're not there for the past 10, 15 years. Imagine what would have happened in NDDC if we have had a visionary leader who will not ask them, don't give us money, don't do it for us. Let us build a refinery. Think about that sustainability that the fund that come from that place, the individual companies that will come as a result of that rugged decision to make our own refinery. I mean, I could recall that, I don't know how true it is, but we heard that Dangote was supposed to have started this in Rivers State, but somebody would say, what is there for us? And couldn't give him a land or some sort of things as well too. That's because we don't have visionary leaders who think about immediate reward and gratification, and not thinking about, they can become a solid city and state because we have what it takes. Think about how's it that the two ports are not so vibrant? Come on, these are things that we have not even accessed. Is it this subvention? How much is subvention federal government will be giving to us? Because we lack a visionary leader who will put in a river state where, even if it's a fool, let me borrow the word fool, will go in. If you go into UK, sometimes they already have about 25, 50 years plan. there is development. So no matter who comes in here, there's an agenda. So that's really what I'm hoping, that we're able to have one leader who will be able to create a roadmap for Rivers State to bring it to that what is supposed to be, and not a second-class state. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm willing to be part of this vision, really, so that we'll continue to. I mean, one of the things I'm going to ask, that sometimes, even if you want a space, it's time we'll start meeting physically so that we know each other and create a parallel thinking, because here we can't say a lot of things because we're online as well too. But thank you so much. And for Doctor, thank you again. I've followed you for years and I wonder why you stopped doing iLead. I will really appreciate to have your contact so that we could create a synergy as well. So thank you so much, everybody on this call. I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. We are grateful. We are grateful to all our speakers, to all of you who took out time out of your busy schedules to be with us. We are grateful, and we are sure that our children will be grateful for this time that you spent with us. Rivers State will be grateful. Thank you so much to Pharmacist Edna, to Comr Victory, Dr. Alfred, Dr. Patrick, who we reached out to. Some of the speakers we reached out to very late, but they still took our time to come here. Thank you so much, and God bless you. So over to Ebenezar to conclude the session.
Yes, thank you. I mean, just to reiterate Birah's point, thank you so much again, Dr. Uduma and Dr. Oladapo. We can't, we know if you wanted to bill us in dollars for your time, we won't be able to afford it, you know. So thanks a lot for all of the insights that you shared. To Edna, to Victory, Awajimimam, you know, who's a member of the steering committee, and all of the wonderful questions and comments that we saw in the chat as well. Thanks. You know, we are encouraged by, you know, your participation. I mean, if we come to this space and it's just Birah, I, and a couple of people from Rivers 2050 who would definitely not be encouraged. It's because you're here that we are encouraged to continue doing all of these things. And I really like the question that Mr. Tobias asked, because this youth development conversation will be a two-part series. This conversation is the first part, and the second part will then be with the government representative, and we plan to speak to the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Youth Development. We've already reached out to her, and once we're able to schedule a time, we'd have her come, so that, you know, we've heard the citizens' part. We want to hear the government's part as well on what the government is doing for young people and how they want young people to also engage as well. But when your question came to Tobias, I remember that one of the members of the Rivers 2050 steering committee, of the Rivers 20 task force and the focus group committee, Oyin, who is here, also had taken part in something that the Kaduna state government had done. You know, you asked the question on how young people can really be part of policy making, right? And I'll just ask Oyin now to share, because Kaduna state government actually invested, and I don't know if they still do the fellowship, but during El Rufai's time, they invested a lot in having young people serve in various ministries and building their leadership capacity. So Oyin, I don't know if you want to just share in just a few seconds what that experience was like, and why, you know, you think Rivers State should do something similar, because I think there's so much skill that we can build in that as well. Just for a few seconds before we wrap up.
Thank you so much, Eben, and thank you to our distinguished panelists. Unfortunately, I can't turn on my camera at the moment, but yes, to your point on whether or not it still exists, unfortunately, no, it doesn't, as far as I know. But like you rightly said, the beauty of it was we got assigned to different MDAs within the state, and you didn't have to necessarily be from Kaduna State, which was one of the highlights of the fellowship. And it helped us to really understand what leadership is on the ground. I think the first thing I will say is, one of the highlights for me is that you can lead from anywhere. Just to Dr. Alfred's point on self-leadership being the first thing, you can lead from anywhere. You don't even need a position, in all honesty, you know, and that was one thing that they really highlighted to us in the fellowship. But also importantly is the fact that the fellowship gave us an opportunity to really interrogate our concept of leadership and how it looks like on the ground, the kind of decisions and tensions that you are faced with as a leader when you need to make certain decisions. For instance, how do you balance community and efficiency? How do you balance liberty and equality? These are the real challenges that you'd encounter as a leader, and you necessarily don't have to be in a leadership position to encounter that. So, I mean, to your point on Rivers State taking up programs like that, I think is very important. There are pockets of interventions like this addressing leadership development for young people and all that, but I feel like there also has to be a whole of nation approach to it, where there's a collective understanding of why this is even important, what kind of mentorship arrangements are required to groom the kind of young leaders that we need. Let all of us agree and then see how we can contextualize it to each state. So definitely big recommendation for Rivers State is something that should happen. And I hope that this project serves as a springboard to even sort of give them the impetus to take it up from there. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. So all of the insights and comments from all of the speakers today would form part of the Rivers 2050 Vision Book, and they will all be credited to them as well. Thanks a lot for your time, everyone. Stay in touch. We're going to have another conversation next Saturday on business and investments. We hope to be engaging the Entrepreneurs Forum and folks who have really led businesses within the States over the past couple of years. So do well to also join us next week as well for that. Thanks everyone for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you. And bye everyone.
Bye. Thank you.